Greetings to you on this fine Monday evening. It's been a very long day for me, as I'm sure it has been for most of you as well. Thanks to all of you who have put up with my indignance over the last couple of videos, and thank you for your comments, whether they were supportive, negative, or in complete contempt of what I was saying. It's free speech in action, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Quick clarification before we get started. When I say truth, I mean truth either as I know it to be sometimes, or in some cases just as I best understand it. So it's there for you to take or leave. I do not claim to have a monopoly on truth. Sorry if that sounded arrogant in the last video. So finally back to the feminism topic. It's been a while, but in part 1, if you'll recall, we defined feminism, what it means, what it really means today. In part 2, we talked about the differences, the death of distinction between the genders, and how it's happening. In parts 3 and 4, we talked about women sold short and manhood criminalized, how feminism has affected men and women individually, as individuals. In this video, we're going to be talking about how it affects society as a whole, so the bigger picture. And of course, part 5 was Confessions of a G.I. Jane, in which I shared some personal experiences with double standards. Alright, I hear from a lot of people who approach the topic of feminism from the viewpoint of feminism at its core is not a bad thing. It was intended as a good thing, but there are some who radicalize it. And I've always been very tempted to take this stance myself. You know, that it can be a necessary and a good thing, but there are some who take it and they run with it, and it's corrupted and poisoned. But I can't say that I believe that. From everything that I have studied so far, from just the observations I've made, the little living that I have done, my observation is that it's the other way around. Feminism at its core, what it really means today, it's a radical concept, because the majority of actual feminists, active feminists, who know what they believe and why, and work to promote the feminist agenda, are radical ones. Radical meaning that they're not pro-family, they don't really believe in freedom of choice for women because they aren't okay with the idea of a woman staying home if she wants to and raising her children, and sometimes secretly and often not so secretly, anti-male. So what are some of the results of the feminist agenda being carried out in this country and in the Western world? I don't know about you, but when I look around I see mass confusion. And men and women, it seems to me, don't really know what it is to be their gender. I mean, how do you really define it anymore? What does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a woman? Doesn't society tell us that it's up to your interpretation? Is that right? Should the definition of anything really be up to however the individual decides to define it? Men's and women's roles are being clouded. There's a book called Grave Influence by Brannon House, 21 Radicals and Their Worldviews That Rule America from the Grave. His book is about radical worldviews perpetuated by radicals long dead but not gone, living on in areas of society which they've infected. Marx, of course, being one of them, and many others. Anyway, he makes a quote about masculinity. Indeed, the average American male has become a feminized wimp. Many may still hunt, fish, and watch football, but that's only a facade of masculinity. Tough guys, quote, end quote, who refuse to lead, to boldly speak truth, to discipline their children, or to take charge, are merely whitewashed wimps. All too many men today shun leadership positions that real men would grab a hold of. Likewise, femininity is falling apart. In fact, it's quite under attack. Women are acting less and less like women. The statistics are showing that they're more prone to behavior once attributed mostly to males. Cases of female violence and pedophilia are rising. And many of the young women who do manage to avoid falling into the feminist trap and becoming a feminazi are often pursuing a counterfeit version of femininity, just as young men are pursuing a mere imitation of what it means to be a man. I think this is because young men and women aren't getting young men and young women training. They're getting a collective, unisex, teenager training. Remember, the differences between the genders is something that's being very much despised. It's not something being championed or held up, and it's certainly not something that boys and girls are being encouraged to aspire to. Now, as the goose-stepping feminazis surge forward, pulverizing everything in their path, there are courageous men standing up and saying, no more of this. They are, of course, MRAs, or men's rights activists. They're part of the men's rights movement, the MRM. Now, this is what I would call definitely a good response to the feminist movement. Most of these men have the wisdom and maturity to meet the feminists on their own turf and not to descend into revenge tactics, although I wouldn't blame them if they did. However, there is another backlash, and backlash is usually an overcorrection. We're seeing this backlash often in men who have been screwed over repeatedly, men who had patience at the beginning and now are giving up. Wisely so, I might add. The men who do this often go too far. And first I want to say that I don't blame them for doing so. It's justified, it's justice. But women, you do not want this. Backlash is often an overcorrection, and many men are overcorrecting. And I would like to say, women, I feel sorry for you. Feminists, I'm really sorry you're going to have to put up with this, but honestly all I can say is, you deserve it. This is what you asked for. This is what you've been working for. You wanted a man who wouldn't treat you like a woman. Well, guess what? A lot of men are now saying, fine, we're equal. I'm not going to take care of you. I'm not going to protect you. Why should I be the breadwinner? That's what you wanted. You wanted equality, you're going to get it. That means no protection, no chivalry. See, just as John Adams said that our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people and is wholly inadequate to the governance of any other, so chivalry was made for femininity and does not work in relation to anything else. So women are wondering where all the chivalrous men have gone. Well, they're pitching their chivalry because you've pitched your femininity. You can't have one and not the other. A lot of men have been embittered. They are the results, they are the product of the feminist movement, of the feminist agenda implemented. Screwed over in custody cases, held back when they tried to achieve, told they're of no special value to our society whatsoever, and made out to be idiotic, incompetent buffoons. So who can blame them when they say, I'm going to go my own way? When they say, we don't need women. I mean, come on, you women said that you didn't need men. And I don't know about you, but to me it's really painful to watch the destruction of these gender differences. I'd like to say to men, hang on, hang in there. Not all women are like that. You'll find a good one. They're out there. Don't write all women off as insane. Don't stop being a gentleman. But I can't. Hello, feminists out there. This is a warning. It's already started to happen, and it's only going to get worse. Maybe it was fun telling men that you didn't need them back when you knew that they were still going to be there if it turns out you did need them. Now they're calling your bluff. I'm just saying, provoking someone can't go on forever. You can only tickle the sleeping giant so long before he wakes up. Did you think it just wasn't going to happen? Well, I'll elaborate further sometime when I'm not falling asleep. Next video, which is going to be called What Now, and the last in our feminism series, is going to talk about exactly that. Here's where we are. We're at a crisis point. Now what? What should we then do? What should women do? What should men do? How do we get this thing back on track if we can? By the way, I don't think we ever will. That's not a reason not to try. Oh, and by the way, the nice guys versus bad boys video, which I'm very much looking forward to making, is probably not going to be a part of the feminism series because it's going to be too long. It's not going to be a series in and of itself, but I really hope to go out and actually, interview some people and take some fun polls, and I really hope to go in depth with that one. So it should be a really fun and hopefully insightful look at that topic. Again, thank you for watching. Wish I could have been more thorough. Really, really, really appreciate your support and even your criticism, because it really actually helps me to stay on track. And I learn a lot from everybody who comments, negative and positive. Oh, and a quick question, if I could. When you comment, please add your own opinion on how feminism has impacted the Western world for the worse. Big picture-wise, how has it affected us? Thank you so much, and see you soon.